Okay, I'm here at the New Hampshire GOP Red Summit. David Carney just gave his presentation. David, big presentation about how to win in local elections.
Right.
And in terms of local elections, you were talking not just state rep, where in New Hampshire there's hundreds of them, but you're talking about selectmen and school committee,
right,
and how those small races build for big races. How important are those small races?
Well, first of all, public policy matters a lot at the school board and the local select board races and mayor, city council, but also it attracts new voters to the process, which helps up and down the ballot. So it's, people talk about coattails. This is sort of the reverse effect of coattails, where the underdraft and has an updraft in votes. So it's important to file as many candidates to run for all these offices, even the nonpartisan offices. Just having a right-of-center person running for school board and nonpartisan election helps bring out more right-of-center voters.
And you also talked about forcing the other side to defend everywhere. I live in Massachusetts, and except for in 2010, where Democrats had to defend everywhere, Democrats are generally out helping other Democrats, and by engaging, you talked about how important it is to engage in every office.
Right. There's the two major parties. If they're going to be major parties, no matter what state, they need to file a candidate for every office. They won't necessarily be successful, but if you don't do that, the opposition allows them to consolidate just on the target races, and that makes it more difficult for those candidates. So the more candidates are run, rising tide raises all boats, and it makes the Democrats spread their resources across the whole ballot, not just to cherry pick the campaigns they want to focus on.
Now, you also talked about the importance of local issues versus national ones, especially ones that the media is talking about. But in those situations, how do you deal with those big national issues when you're going door to door? Do you just mention them in passing, or do you deal with it if a voter brings it up?
Deal with it if a voter brings it up. In most cases, they won't. Most cases, they're going to talk about their quality of life issues, what their interaction with their government, whatever you're running for, whether it's school board or city council or state rep. And that's what they're going to focus on. And they may bring up something nationally, or the NFL players kneeling, and you can share your opinion with it. But you want to start off with what they care about, not what you care about.
And finally, you talked about the difference between a midterm election and a general election. Of course, in a general election, you also don't have to deal with dirty tricks or buses of people suddenly showing up from my state to vote here in New Hampshire. What are the things in a midterm election that are unique, that make a difference for the GOP, which tends to do nationally better in midterm elections?
Well, one is you don't have all the national money coming in to try to influence the vote that you have in a presidential year. You don't have every spooper PAC, every hundreds of operatives on the ground, and so it really is a much more level playing field. And secondly, the voters you're going after, there just tend to be fewer of them, because the turnout is about 20 to 25 points less. So you have a much more engaged electorate that you can deal with and talk to.
And finally, one thing that you didn't get a chance to deal with, and probably because you were talking about smaller local elections, how do you deal with dirty tricks, or is that something that's a problem in local elections? Is that something you don't have to deal with as much?
No, it happens everywhere. And the best antidote for dirty tricks or slime ball plays is sunshine, is to point them out. There's no redo. There's very rarely is there a legal remedy or anything like that. But the more, if a legitimate legal trick was taking place, you need to point it out before the election and let voters have that information when they're making their decision.
David Carney, thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Anytime.